Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be comparing my 987 Boxster S to Trevor from Rolling Slow Media. We're going to be comparing that to his 997 C4S. So we've got them both parked up here. I'm going to do a quick walk around and just see how they're different. So here they are. So both of these cars are from the same generation, both 987 and 997, similar year. And I mean, you all know my Boxster by now, but we're just going to have a quick walk around. So it is a strict two-seater, but we've got the front and rear boot compared to the 2+2 and just the front boot on the 911. But you all know about my car. Let's jump straight onto this one. So it's got these diamond cut turbo wheels. With this being a 4S, it's the wider body that you can see just from down here, just how wide that is, with the factory aero kit as well. The factory aero kit just at the back there. But in comparison, you can see just how high the Boxster is compared to a 911. The fitment on this, there's absolutely no arch gap compared to the Boxster, which does sit quite high. So I think mine does need to come down a bit. So with this being the 4S, it's the 3.8 litre compared to the 3.2. But with it being a similar generation, still can run into the engine issues of the 987 and 997. So we'll be talking to Trevor in a bit just about whether he's had any issues with this car. But I've put about 20 grand, maybe more, into my Boxster now. And for that, you can start looking at 997s. So should I have just bit the bullet and done things properly, as people do say that the Cayman and Boxster is not a real Porsche or the poor man Porsche? Should I have gone all out and got myself a 911? It does have this iconic shape, which the Boxster, it's looking good for its age, but it's not quite as aggressive as a 911. And that's sat up really nicely just there. So even the wheels here are both straight off a 911. So you can get these diamond cut wheels on Boxsters, and also vice versa, you can get the lobster claws on the 911. But we're going to have a quick look inside now to see how that compares. So sitting in here straight off the bat, I feel very at home. This one's got the Sport Chrono, which you can in fact get on Boxsters as well. It's got the updated steering wheel compared to mine, but the pedals, clutch feels exactly the same. This does have the sport seats, which are a lot more supportive than in my Boxster. But just looking back here, this is very strange for me to see space back there, which isn't really room for a person, but it's quite useful to have a bit, quite useful to have a place to throw your bags and a little bit of storage inside the cabin, especially as we found out just on the way here. On the way here, I actually broke down at the entrance of where we're filming, due to needing to jump my car. And the problem that we had was I have jump leads, but they're in the boot or the front of the car, and to get to the battery you need to open the boot. So I needed the jump leads, which were in the boot, and I couldn't open the boot, so I had to go and buy another pair. So I've actually got 3 pairs of jump leads now. Whereas in a 911, you can just put them on the rear seats, as well as some bags or even some camera gear or things like that. So that is a huge plus, and maybe a reason why I would look to upgrade just for some in-cabin storage. Also, just looking out the window here and seeing this huge rear arch as well as that aero kit on the back, that is such a cool thing to look out the window and see. This car, with it being a 4S, shares the same chassis as the Turbo, so it's got a lot more presence. It sits lower. I think Trevor does have this on lowering springs as well, but it sits lower, wider, and in this black, it looks so aggressive as well. The only difference inside is we've got oil level, a physical oil level reader, which is a big upgrade because the one in the Boxster is useless, and also a temperature gauge as well. But apart from that, it's all pretty much 987 business as usual. So we'll jump out and get the car started. So we are now inside the car with Trevor from Rolling Slow Media. We have just been filming a video on his channel, so I'll put a link below to that one when it's uploaded. But we're out on the road in the 997, and first impressions, it feels very similar to the Boxster in terms of just the interior, but it just feels a lot bigger. But Trevor, why did you go for a 911 over everything?
Okay, so I've always liked 911s, and I kind of reached a point in my life where I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it.
Sure.
Thought the 997 would be a good entry point into 911 ownership. I did look at Boxsters, but there was something about the 997 that just kind of made me think that's the perfect looking Porsche. Like, at the time, I wasn't really a fan of the 996. Because of the headlights. They've kind of grown on me now, though.
I know, yeah, they're a bit of a classic.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I thought, I can't afford a 991, but I think the 997 is like the perfect looking Porsche.
Yeah.
Like, they don't look too old and they don't look too modern, and anyone who sees one will always think, oh yeah, that's a Porsche, you know. So I was like, yeah, let's go for that. Cool. And so I decided to get one because I've always liked them, and
and this is your first
now
Porsche?
or never. This is my first one. Yeah.
So with mine, pretty quickly after buying it, I ran into reliability issues. You go online, bore score, IMS, all of this. Yeah. Have you had any experience with that?
Hell yes.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
So
what was your experience?
Just like you, I bought this car with my heart instead of my head. And it was the first one I saw, and I mean, I wanted one with an aero kit, and I wanted a C4S, so it kind of ticked all the boxes, really. So as soon as I saw one, it was like the cheapest aero kitted C4S, and I was like, that's the one I want. And I took it for a drive, and it was fine. Like I like the owner said, yeah man, put your foot down, just give it the beans. You know, I drove it for a good, hour or so. Yeah. And then, great, bought it, got it home, and then I got like a local Porsche dealer to check it out. And then he was like, yeah, your steering rack is gone, you need a new clutch, blah, 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 blah. And then before I know it, I was 6K in on repairs.
Oh, right, straight off the bat.
Straight off the bat. And that was before the bore score issue. So I got all that sorted. Gave it a good service. The car was running fine, and then I had it for like 2 years, no problems. Just driving it around, enjoying it, loved it, every minute of it. Yeah. And then I kind of started noticing. Well, it was when the oil light came on. Yes. I was like, oh, okay, it needs topping up. So top it up. Then it came on again. I was like, oh no. You know, in your mind,
those are the signs.
In your mind, you're like, oh, come on, please. No, please don't. So you top it up again. Oil light comes on again, and you're like, oh. Then you look at the exhaust tips and they're all
black.
sooted up.
Yep.
Then the car's making a ticking noise, and it's like, why me? Why me? You know?
So that was, you then took it to a specialist and had a rebuild done with new liners as well.
Yeah, so I took it to a specialist. They did the bore check, and it was like cylinders, I think 6 that were scored. And then I was kind of left with the decision, do I just get rid of it? But I was like, I've always wanted one of these cars, man. Like, all I'm gonna do is just sit there thinking, oh, I should have kept it, I should have repaired it, should have kept it. So in the end, I decided, you know what, sod it, I'm gonna get it repaired. And I knew it was gonna cost me around about, 10 grand ish to repair. So I thought, okay, sod it, I'll do it. But then when the engine was out, I got the garage to say, look, anything that you think needs doing, replacing, just replace it. And so so the bills slowly started to rack up.
As they do.
I knew that once the work had been done, I'd have a car that would just be super reliable and I'd be happy with it. And the rebuild came with a 2-year warranty. And and ever since then, I haven't had a single issue.
So pretty much exactly the same experience of mine.
Yeah.
I went through the whole, should I sell it? Should I get rid of it? I've always wanted one.
Literally.
And now I've got something which I think is a good example. But of course, yours has a much higher value to be compared to the rebuild cost, which is why when I was getting mine done, they said people very rarely get a 7 grand rebuild, which is how much mine cost. 7 grand rebuild on a 10 grand car. It doesn't really make much sense, which is a negative about buying a Boxster, because if you were to get 10 grand rebuild on this, it does add an element of value. So as you said just a minute ago about the bumper, this car's not stock. So what have you done to it?
Okay, so when I got the car, when I got the engine rebuilt, the first thing I did after that was get the GT3 rear end bumper and the center exhaust.
Yeah. Okay. So another mod you've done is you've lowered it and it's got a splitter on the front.
Well, I've lowered it, but it's too low and the splitter's too big.
Okay.
So they just don't work.
Yeah. But the main thing about 911s versus the Boxsters is you get the power increase and the engines at the back.
Yeah, it's rear engine where yours is mid.
Yeah. How does that? Is that particularly noticeable? Having, well, I guess with this being 4-wheel drive,
do you know?
Does it step out a lot?
No, it doesn't, and I think it's because I don't turn traction control off.
Yep, fair enough.
And I don't really. I think I'm still trying to find that sort of sweet spot where you can step the back out and kind of control it.
Yeah.
Where I still haven't found it. Even like today, I'll give it a little bit, but it still doesn't want to step out.
But also, with the 911s, across the range, they're just all more powerful. So if we put our foot down here, let's see.
Let's turn it
Smaller. Yeah, it's definitely got the legs on the Boxster.
Yeah.
I do always look at these online, and I'd love to buy one. So I do still question whether I should have bought a 911 over a Boxster. And some of you have actually let me know in the comments that I have bought the wrong car, which is something that you're always going to get on the internet.
I think that's the hard thing about the Boxsters is like it's always going to be upstaged by the Porsche, but you get the same tech. It's the same.
It's very similar. This all feels very similar. Yeah.
But the 911 will always be like the big brother.
Just a classic icon. Yeah, it's given me a really good taste of what a 911 is. It's the first one I've been in.
Really?
Yes. Being as much of a Porsche guy as I am, first 911 I've been in. So
this won't be the last. I tell you something, man. You'll get to go in a few.
Yeah.
And that's when you'll really see like what they're like, especially like the 991s, maybe a turbo or a GT3.
There's such variation.
They're next level, those cars,
But yeah, thanks for showing me.
No worries.
No, I really appreciate it. And I can imagine I'll be in one of these at some point very soon. Well, thanks for coming on and thanks for having me on your channel.
No worries, bro. Yeah.
And I'm sure I'll see you at the next event or something.
You definitely will.
That's great. Nice one.
Cheers, dude.
So that's it. We're just heading back now from filming with Trevor in the 911. It was interesting to see what that car is like. It feels very similar inside to this car, with it being the same year, same generation, 987 versus 997. Inside the cabin, the whole interior feels very familiar. Slight differences, but nothing too major. But you do get a lot more space with those spare 2 seats in the back. With that engine being in the rear as well versus the middle, it does change the characteristics of the car quite significantly. From driving around, you can definitely feel that there was quite a lot of weight out there, but they do have huge rear section tyres, those 911s, so it didn't feel like it was going to spin out or slide or anything, which is not really what you want on the public roads anyway. It was interesting what he said about the running costs. Of course, 997s are prone for poor scoring on the bigger engines, and that being the 3.8, it did suffer. A rebuild on those is a lot more expensive because you're sending it off to Hartec and getting the liners done, so it probably costs around 14-15 grand to do. Which, did I buy the wrong car? No, I don't think I did, because I don't have the budget to run a 911 and to be dealing with bills like that. With it being a similar generation car, of course, the same kind of maintenance is going to come up. And on the Boxster, everything does seem to be a bit cheaper. Although, from sitting in that 911, I did really like them, and I think it was a fantastic car, so maybe in the future I might look into getting one. But until then, I will leave you with that. There's a link in the description to Trevor's channel and the video that we filmed, and I will see you in the next one.